The campus belle was being harassed by a rich second-generation heir driving a Maserati. I happened to be passing by when the school goddess suddenly threw herself into my arms declaring I was her boyfriend. Furious and humiliated, the rich heir spat out, "You loser, just you wait." Not wanting to get involved in this mess, I quickly clarified that we weren't in that kind of relationship. As a result, the campus goddess moved in to share an apartment with me. One education is the only way out. I come from rural Ohio and got into New York University. Classmates came from all over the United States, speaking various accents and having different living habits. The department would occasionally organize some dinner gatherings, and when the bill was split evenly, it still amounted to quite a sum for each person. I barely had any money in my pocket, so I avoided such events whenever possible. Also skipping the event was a girl named Isabel. Isabel was from Florida, tall, with striking, well-defined features and impeccable fashion sense. She carried herself like a star, easily the undisputed goddess of our department. Her stunning beauty carried an intimidating aura that made people hesitant to meet her gaze. Perhaps it's my own insecurity that makes me afraid to meet her gaze. Even across the entire school, girls as strikingly beautiful as Isabel are actually quite rare. Isabel skipping the gathering definitely wasn't due to financial constraints. Her fashion sense, wristwatch, and the effortless elegance in her every movement exude an air of nobility. Isabel and I were in the same department, but we hardly ever spoke. In fact, I rarely interacted with any other girls in our department either. This was mainly because I was naturally shy and introverted, and most of my time was spent working part-time jobs off campus. My family was extremely poor, and ever since receiving my admission letter, I'd been worrying about tuition fees and living expenses. Fortunately, my high school counselor helped me apply for a grant that covered my first year of college expenses, but I did have to fend for myself in the following years. I had to tighten my belt, never daring to eat my fill, a bagel and coffee for breakfast, 2 hot dogs for lunch, and fruit was an occasional luxury. Classmates sometimes asked, "Why do you eat so little?" I always smile and brush it off, saying, "Because my stomach isn't very strong." I don't want them to know about my dire situation, and my age dignity matters more than going hungry. By sophomore year, my classmates were busy playing games, dating, and partying. My life basically revolved around studying, working part-time jobs, and sleeping after paying tuition, and rent. My bank account was nearly empty, leaving me extremely anxious. One morning, as usual, I slung my backpack over my shoulder and headed to the academic building for class. As I passed by the gymnasium, I saw a guy confessing his feelings to a girl with a Maserati parked beside him. The iconic trident emblem made it clear this guy was either wealthy or influential. The girl being confessed to was none other than Isabel from our department. Isabel was frowning, tightly, looking thoroughly annoyed and eager to leave, but the guy blocked her path, refusing to let her go. "Isabel, I truly love you," the boy said, holding a bouquet of roses. "Move aside, please, stop bothering me," the boy persisted. "Why, what's wrong with me?" Isabel said coldly, "I already have a boyfriend." What since when the boy froze, his expression stiffening, then grabbed Isabel's arm. Isabel struggled to break free from his grip. "Carter, let me go." The boy named Carter looked pained. "You lied to me. You don't have a boyfriend at all. Explain yourself." Many passing students stopped to watch the scene. I wasn't interested in the drama and continued walking toward the lecture hall. Isabel spotted me, quickly pushed through the crowd, and threw herself into my arms. I was caught off guard, feeling the warmth and softness in my arms along with the intoxicating fragrance, leaving me completely stunned. "This is my boyfriend." Isabel tightly wrapped her arms around me and said to the guy driving the Maserati. This woman, just to shake off his persistence, actually used me as a shield. Carter's eyes widened, his face filled with disbelief. I came to my senses and didn't want to get involved in this mess. So I pushed Isabel away, trying to explain. At that moment, Isabel suddenly leaned in and gently kissed me on the lips. Carter's expression shifted from shock and confusion to utter despair. He clenched his fists violently, threw the roses in his hand to the ground, and stomped on them twice, venting his fury and frustration. "What a loser, daring to steal my woman. You'll pay for this." The Maserati roared to life and sped away in a cloud of dust. Some classmates from our department in the crowd shot me envious glances mixed with shock and disbelief. Isabel hooked her arm through mine and said, "Come on, let us go to class." I reminded her he's already left, no need to keep up the act. Isabel looked apologetic, but kept her arm linked with mine until we entered the school building, only then letting go. "What's your phone number?" Isabel asked. At school and in my department, I kept a low profile, never showing off or drawing attention to myself. Now I've inexplicably become her shield, and I'm quite resistant to the idea. So when Isabel asked for my contact information, I just shrugged and ignored her, walking straight into the classroom. Isabel stood there stunned, perhaps in her world. She'd never faced such cold treatment. 2 news spreads incredibly fast on campus. Soon everyone in our department knew I was Isabel's boyfriend. The boys clicked their tongues in amazement, looking at me with eyes full of envy. The girls whispered among themselves, quietly speculating about my background, wondering how someone like me could win over a goddess-level beauty like Isabel. The department representative slapped his forehead, as if suddenly enlightened. No wonder they never attend any department events, they must have been going on dates instead. The other classmates nodded in agreement, finding the explanation perfectly reasonable. I returned to the dorm, and several roommates immediately gathered around asking what had happened. I then told them the truth, explaining that it was all just a misunderstanding. At that moment, my bunkmate Mike walked in carrying a bag of fruit. Guess who I just ran into at the dorm entrance? Mike placed the fruit on my desk and said, excitedly, it was Isabel, that gorgeous girl from our department. She bought some fruit and asked me to bring it to her boyfriend. As soon as these words were spoken, the dormitory erupted in an uproar. I had just managed to explain everything clearly, and now this happened. Everyone was calling me a hypocrite. Leo, you're amazing. How did you land a girl like that? My full name is Leonardo, so they all call me Leo. I stared at the bag of fruit, momentarily at a loss for words. Some things can't be explained. Clearly, no matter how hard you try, people always believe gossip more. At night, after finishing my part-time job, I took the subway back to campus. On the way, I received a friend request with a note that read Isabel. I hesitated for a moment, but since we were classmates, I accepted the request. Isabel sent a message, "Are you free tonight? Let us meet up." These days, rumors have been spreading in the department that we're dating, which has caused me quite a bit of trouble. I imagine it's the same for her. So she probably wants to talk to me to clear up the misunderstanding. I agreed to meet her at Washington Square Park, where there are some benches where we can sit and talk. I arrived at the park where Isabel was already waiting. I sat across from Isabel and noticed 2 drinks placed between us on the bench. Isabel handed me one of the drinks. It's a new coconut latte from the campus cafe. Pretty good, try it. I took the drink, set it aside, and said, thank you. Leo, do you have a girlfriend? Isabel asked, looking at me. No. Isabel seemed to let out a sigh of relief and said, I hope I didn't cause you any trouble or discomfort that day. I wanted to complain a bit, but swallowed my words and simply said it's fine. Leo, I'm really sorry. Isabel paused before continuing. I was in a hurry that day and pulled you in to help me deal with that guy, but I really didn't mean anything else by it. What do you mean by something else? I asked while Isabel lowered her head and bit her lip before saying, we're not actually going to be in a real relationship. Oh, don't worry about that. I know my place. That rich kid was right. I'm just a loser. How could I ever hope for a goddess like her? Don't even mention luxury hopes. I wouldn't dare to think about it. From the moment I entered university, I never planned to fall in love. In this world, human needs are hierarchical. For someone like me who doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, survival is the first priority. I have to work to earn my tuition and living expenses. Nothing else matters. It's not that I don't like women. As a young man full of vigor and vitality, who wouldn't have desires for the opposite sex? But for me, I must restrain and suppress these feelings. For someone like me, who can barely take care of myself, pursuing romance would be overreaching, hurting both others and myself. Isabel and I sat there gazing at each other in silence for a while. Truth be told, there really wasn't much for us to talk about. I stood up and said, I should head back now. Thanks for the latte. Hey, wait a second. I had already walked a few steps away when Isabel called me back. I turned around and asked in confusion, what else is there? Well, Leo, the first might still need you to help keep up appearances for a while longer. Isabel's face flushed slightly as she spoke somewhat awkwardly. What I mean is, on the surface, we'll still be boyfriend and girlfriend, but in reality, we want to interfere with each other's lives. I was taken aback and said, I'm afraid that wouldn't be appropriate. Isabel quickly asked, are you looking for a girlfriend recently? That's not what I meant. I shook my head and said, if this continues, it'll be troublesome for both of us. I just want to quietly finish university without getting involved in your affairs. Isabel stepped forward and tugged at my sleeve, pleading, please. 3. I'm busy and exhausted every day, especially on weekends at night. When I return to the dorm, they've usually already turned off the lights. I bought a secondhand laptop and started learning programming in my spare time. Isabel would occasionally buy some fruits and yogurt, asking my dorm mates to bring them back and leave them on my desk. Over time, they piled up. Since I couldn't eat them all by myself, I shared them with my roommates. I texted Isabel, stop buying them for now. All my roommates are gossiping, and it's not good for your reputation. Isabel sent a curious emoji. You seem really busy. I hardly ever see you around. What do you usually do outside? I couldn't be bothered to explain, so I didn't reply. The next morning after class, Isabel called me into the hallway. Isabel puffed up angrily and said, what's wrong with you? Didn't even reply to my message? That's so rude. I explained I was too tired last night. Fine, I know you treat me like air, but at least pretend a little. How have I treated you? I froze, unsure how to respond. Isabel continued, are you free this afternoon? Let us go to Bear Mountain together, then catch a movie when we get back. My treat. I shook my head. I have something to do this afternoon. What could you possibly have to do? Isabel seemed angry, her face turning pale with displeasure. I've really never met someone like you. You did help me, but we're classmates and friends. There's no need to be so cold, is there? I had no choice but to tell the truth. I have a part-time job outside. How much can you earn in half a day? Isabel asked. I thought for a moment and said about $100. I'll give you 500, take the day off. No, I'd better not go. It would mess up other people's plans. Isabel cut me off, saying I'll give you 1,000. I felt insulted, but I didn't want to argue with her. I texted my part-time co-worker to cover my shift for me. I don't want any money, I sighed, then added, let us meet at the school gate this afternoon. In the afternoon, we took the subway to Bear Mountain State Park. On the way, Isabel looked at me and asked, are you really that short on money? I was speechless. Who doesn't need money? That goes without saying. Isabel was silent for a moment before saying, I think university time should be spent studying, of course. Joining some club activities is fine too, but spending most of your time on part-time jobs is putting the cart before the horse. Her words carried a hint of let them eat cake attitude. I spread my hands, unable to think of how to respond to her. Isabel asked again, you're not bad looking yourself. How come you haven't found a girlfriend? I couldn't really explain my predicament to her, so I made up an excuse saying my family wouldn't let me date. Isabel sighed, my parents wouldn't let me get a boyfriend either. I was taken aback. I just made that up, never expecting her situation to actually be the same. Why wouldn't they let you find one? Isabel thought for a moment and said, probably because they're afraid I'll get scammed. I made a sound of acknowledgement and didn't speak anymore. Bear Mountain was tall, but it was quite difficult to climb. There were a few steep spots where Isabel grabbed my hand. We pulled each other along for a while, and when we reached level ground, our hands were still clasped together. I quickly let go and walked to the observation deck, gazing at the vast expanse of New York City, feeling more and more like a drifting leaf on the water. What are you thinking about? Isabel asked in the wind. Her beautiful hair brushed against her face, giving her a somewhat enchanting look. Oh, nothing, I snapped out of my thoughts. I just want to graduate soon and start working to earn money. Isabel said, I actually think staying in school is quite nice in the future. I'll probably pursue a master's degree, maybe a PhD, or study abroad. I glanced at her. It's fine, Leo. Will you ever consider me a friend? Isabel asked. Of course, aren't we already? Isabel smoothed her hair away from her face. I have this feeling that although we're physically close, our hearts are far apart. You haven't truly accepted me as a friend. I froze for a long moment. Her words had struck right at the core of my interpersonal struggles. I'm deeply insecure in my core, always wrapping myself in a shell, never opening up to others. Yet this insecurity of mine also serves as a driving force. I'm determined to improve everything through my own efforts. I believe when you hit rock bottom, the only way left is up. Right now I'm at my lowest point, and all I can do is gather strength for the rebound. They say that children without umbrellas can only run as fast as they can, unable to stop and admire the scenery like others. Why aren't you saying anything? Isabel asked. My gaze drifted into the distance again, where a thin mist hung in the air like gauze or smoke, making the city appear hazy and unreal. I said calmly, the fact that you feel this way proves we were never from the same world to begin with. What do you mean we're not from the same world? Isabel's lips curled slightly as she said, discontentedly, you're being deliberately mysterious, speaking in riddles and beating around the bush. I don't like it. I smiled without saying a word. My emotions and state of mind were probably beyond her understanding. Isabel stared straight at me. You know what? That melancholy and sorrowful look on your face is actually quite masculine. Be honest. Are there any girls in our department who want to date you? Let us not gossip about these things. I changed the subject. Thank you, Isabel, for bringing me here. Today, standing on this observation deck, watching the bustling city in the distance gives me a feeling of being far from the madding crowd. You might as well become a monk, I said as we returned to school, already past 8 in the evening. Isabel still wanted to watch a movie and asked me to accompany her. I felt it was somewhat inappropriate for the two of us to go to the movies together. That is something couples do on dates. Isabel and I were only putting on an act after all. That afternoon on the mountain, when I grabbed her hand, my heart skipped a beat. Matters of the heart are like Pandora's box, best left unopened. Every smile and frown of Isabel's was etched in my eyes and buried deep in my heart. I reminded myself of my current situation and the vast gap between us. No matter what, I couldn't let myself fall. She and I were merely nominal lovers. This matter shouldn't be taken seriously, shouldn't be dwelled upon, and certainly shouldn't be overthought. So I said, it's getting late, and I'm a bit tired today. Let us both get some rest early. We can watch a movie another time. Isabel looked somewhat disappointed and sighed, all right, another time, though who knows when that will be. For Isabel and I didn't meet often. Mostly it was during lectures, where she would always sit beside me and bring me a cup of coffee. This made many other guys in the department green with envy. I suspect quite a few boys had a crush on Isabel. They must have been grinding their teeth in frustration. However, over the past week, Isabel has been attending classes less frequently. Once she left halfway through the lecture, sitting by the window, I watched Isabel hurry out of the building, where a tall, handsome guy approached her. They exchanged a few intimate words before walking side by side toward the campus gate. I pulled my gaze back and sighed, feeling a sharp pang in my chest followed by bitterness and emptiness. Isabel must have gotten a real boyfriend. My role as a fake one has come to an end. Isabel's changes clearly haven't gone unnoticed by our classmates either. My dorm mate Mike said, "Dude, what is going on? Your girlfriend was with another guy. Don't say I didn't warn you. I saw them go to a hotel with my own eyes." I tried to suppress my emotions, pretending to feel neither pain nor sorrow. It's nothing like I've said before. I was just her shield, her nominal boyfriend now. That she's found someone real, it's a good thing. It actually takes a load off my shoulders. A fake boyfriend. Mike looked incredulous. "Leo, don't kid yourself. A man should stand his ground. If I were you, I'd never let anyone take my girl." I didn't respond, my eyes growing moist as I turned my head away. Sensing my mood, Mike patted my shoulder. "See, you're hurting. Come on, man. Don't hold it in. Let us grab a drink. Plenty of fish in the sea." Mike and I went to the bar behind campus and ordered a dozen beers. I said, "Mike, today, as my treat." Mike laughed and replied, "All right, then, since it's your first time treating me, I won stand on ceremony." After a few bottles of wine, we were both tipsy. Mike comforted me, saying, "Buddy, don't take it too hard, whether it's a nominal relationship or a real boyfriend-girlfriend thing. It's all in the past. As they say, let bygones be bygones. A girl like Isabel has probably gone through a dozen boyfriends by now. We're just not her type." I explained to Isabel, and I really weren't in a relationship. But even as I said this, my tears fell like unstrung pearls, drop by drop, into the wine glass. I resent myself for being so weak, unable to hide my emotions. I finally understand that matters of the heart are beyond our control. I raised my glass and downed the tearful wine in one gulp, its bitterness tinged with melancholy, just like these forbidden feelings born from adversity. Before long, a few more dorm mates came over. I thought they would laugh at me, but they didn't. Instead, they comforted me, encouraged me, and tried to explain the truths of life in this world. Brotherhood is like wine in a cup. Once drunk, it warms the heart. Amidst the clinking of glasses, I recalled that scene on Bear Mountain, which later appeared in my dreams many times. The wind tousled her hair and also rippled the lake of my heart. But I, like the spring breeze, was merely a passerby destined from the start to have no outcome. At this moment, my heart is tangled in countless knots, leaving a bitter taste. I am a calm and rational person, yet unexpectedly lost my composure over this matter, crumbling emotionally in an instant. Isabel was like a butterfly that suddenly fluttered into my world. Graceful and elegant, she danced with effortless beauty and poise. Yet I kept my distance, for I was but a wild weed without blossoms to offer her even a moment's respite. Truth be told, I always avoided her. Now that she has truly gone, I find myself drowning in sorrow. The bar was closing for the night when we finally parted, leaving behind a battlefield of empty bottles. Supporting each other, we staggered drunkenly down the street in crooked procession. The orange streetlights stretched our shadows long across the pavement. At the corner stood the finest five-star hotel near campus. Just then, a couple emerged side by side from the hotel, Isabel and the guy I'd seen earlier that day. Noticing my unsteady gait, Isabel frowned and stepped forward. "Are you okay? How did you get this drunk?" I shook my head, and Isabel's face came into focus. She still seemed genuinely concerned about me. I said, "It's fine, it's not your fault." Isabel then said a few words to the guy beside her. He nodded and turned back toward the hotel. Holding my arm, Isabel asked, "Leo, are you okay? Let me take you back." I shoved the other person away. "You mind your own business." I'd been drinking and couldn't gauge my strength properly. I might have used too much force. Isabel staggered, lost her balance, and fell to the ground. Isabel looked up at me with tearful eyes, clearly hurt and wronged. I stood there swaying, slightly dazed for a moment, then turned and walked away. The next day, my hangover cleared. Isabel had sent me several messages asking me to call her when I woke up. I didn't want to say anything more to her, so I replied, "Let us in here. Don't contact me again." There was a brief silence from Isabel's side. "Did you find a girlfriend?" I stared at this message, finding it utterly ridiculous. I typed out a line to question her, then deleted it all. So be it. Absurdity has reached such heights. What more is there to say? Finals were approaching, and the school had practically no classes left. Everyone was preparing for exams. The college professor had an elite course project that required building a website. Since I'd recently learned web programming, I submitted my resume and portfolio. The college then assigned this project to me, $2,000 per website, with about 7 or 8 high-quality courses totaling over $10,000. This way, my tuition for the next 2 years was covered. One day, I arranged to meet Professor Miller at the Student Activity Center to discuss the web design project. Professor Miller had a last-minute meeting and asked me to wait for a while. Just then, Lily, a girl from our department, passed by and saw me sitting alone in a daze. She asked if I wanted to play badminton together. Since I had nothing better to do anyway, I went with Lily outside the Student Activity Center to play on an open patch of ground nearby. I rarely exercised, so after just a short while I was drenched in sweat. The sweat dripped into my eyes, stinging sharply, and I hurriedly rubbed them. Lily walked up to me, handing me a bottle of mineral water with one hand, while using a tissue to wipe the sweat from my forehead with the other. Isabel had arrived at some point and happened to witness this scene. Isabel froze for a moment, then strode right up to me, snatched the water bottle from my hand, unscrewed the cap, and splashed the water straight into my face. I was drenched, water dripped from my forehead hair and soaked into my shirt. "What are you doing?" I asked angrily. Isabel replied calmly, "You looked really hot, so I thought I'd cool you off, still playing count me in." Lily, aware of the situation between me and Isabel, couldn't help but feel awkward. She said sheepishly, "Then you two play, I'll go first, Leo. Don't forget to return my racket." After Lily left, Isabel looked at me and said, "Sorry for interrupting you too." I remained silent, having nothing to say. Isabel took a tissue from her pocket and stepped forward to wipe the water from my face. "I've told you before," she said, "that brooding look of yours could charm plenty of girls. Seems I was right." I grabbed Isabel's wrist. "If you have something to say it outright. Why beat around the bush? Our so-called superficial relationship ended long ago, and I don't have the energy to play this pointless game with you anymore." Isabel tilted her head and asked, "When did it end?" Did I agree to that? I said, "Because I don't want to continue." Isabel asked, "Because you have a new girlfriend, right?" I released Isabel's hand. "Why ask unnecessary questions? Shouldn't it be that you found a boyfriend, making my existence meaningless?" "What did I get a boyfriend?" Isabel retorted. I was stunned. This woman had entered full-blown denial mode, outright lying about having a boyfriend. I'd personally seen her leave campus with that tall guy, and later watch her emerge from the hotel late at night. Not just me, half the department had witnessed it too. I said, "Actually, whether you have a boyfriend or not has nothing to do with me. But the fact remains that you came out of a hotel with a man, right?" Isabel was silent for a moment before replying, "About that, I should have explained it to you sooner. That boy was my cousin. My aunt came to New York for medical treatment and was staying at the hotel next door. Of course, I had to accompany her." "What, your cousin?" "Yes." Isabel paused briefly before continuing, "You know my personality. If I really had a boyfriend, I wouldn't hide it. I'd tell you directly." I stood there frozen, my thoughts in disarray, unsure of what to say. These days my emotions have been on a roller coaster. Just when I finally managed to move on, the other party said it was all a misunderstanding. Whatever the case, let us, and at all, it's not that Isabel has any issues, but rather this game is one I can't afford to play. It was all supposed to be fake, yet I fell deep into it. I pretend to feel no pain or sorrow, but I'm more fragile than I thought. Isabel, we were never really a couple to begin with, and we agreed from the start not to interfere in each other's lives. I sighed and admitted, "But I've realized I can't do this anymore, so let us stop here for both our sakes." Isabel looked into my eyes. "So that night when you got so drunk, it was because you mistakenly thought I had a boyfriend. Can I take this to mean you've developed real feelings for me?" "I haven't." "You're lying." Isabel took a step forward and suddenly embraced me. "You're just being stubborn." "Isabel, don't do this." I pushed her away. "It's all in the past now." Isabel touched my face and said, "Now I'm giving you a chance to be my real boyfriend. Will you accept?" I gazed into her hopeful eyes, feeling a surge of emotions within me. Having a girlfriend like Isabel was a dream many guys longed for. I was no exception. I had once been deeply infatuated, unable to extricate myself. But a princess must be matched with a prince. As a frog at the bottom of a well, even if given wings, I could never soar to the heavens. Even if I reached the sky, the higher I flew, the harder I'd fall. Love is like a whirlpool, a quagmire that drowns one's will. Better a short pain than a long one. In any case, it must not be touched again. I shook my head and said, "I'm sorry, but this act should end now." "Why? Explain yourself." Clearly, Isabel's eyes welled up with tears as she bit her lip and asked, "Is there something wrong with me? Am I not pretty enough, not gentle enough?" "You're wonderful. It's my own issue." I paused and spoke my mind. "We're from different worlds. Why torture each other? You'll meet someone more suitable." "Okay, then, can we just be regular friends?" Isabel asked again. "Of course we can still be classmates. What I mean is committed platonic friends." Isabel further explained, "I want to look for a boyfriend, and you can't look for a girlfriend. We'll still care for each other like before, okay? This isn't a commitment. It's a game." I said firmly, "I told you I can't keep pretending with you." Isabel's eyes welled up with tears. She closed them, and the tears streamed down her cheeks. "Fine, don't regret this," Isabel muttered through clenched lips. "I really regret agreeing to be your shield back then." Fine, fine, fine." Isabella repeated the word 3 times, tears streaming down her face. My phone rang. It was Professor Miller calling. I said, "Let us leave it at that. I've got things to do." "All right, you can go." Isabel wiped her tears and sobbed, "For now on, let us pretend we never knew each other." I hesitated to speak, then turned and walked toward the Student Activity Center. 6. I believe I did the right thing. The best state in life is neither joy nor sorrow. For me, being able to spend my 4 years of college peacefully without worrying about tuition or living expenses is already the best state I could ask for. Self-awareness is a virtue in my current situation. I shouldn't harbor unrealistic hopes for love or other fanciful thoughts. I'm a complete novice at web design, constantly encountering various bugs. The department has already advanced the funding to me, so I absolutely must complete the project on schedule. I had no choice but to repeatedly test, constantly consult materials for revisions, and work until the early morning hours for several consecutive days. It's almost final exam time, and I didn't want to disturb everyone as studying or rest, so I rented a single room outside. I also have a part-time job as a waiter at a high-end fusion restaurant. At 11 p.m., the manager asked me to go around each private room to ask if they wanted to order more food before the chefs finished their shift. In the innermost private room sat 5 young people, 2 men and 3 women. Under the table, liquor bottles lay scattered in complete disarray. These people were still in high spirits, playing drinking games, and loudly urging each other to drink. A girl lay slumped over the table, her jet black hair covering her face, clearly having drunk too much. One of the guys looked somewhat familiar, though I couldn't remember where I'd seen him before. There was a pack of cigarettes on the guy's table with a car key resting on top of the box. The iconic trident emblem was unmistakable. It was a Maserati. Suddenly, I remembered he was Carter, the one who had publicly confessed his feelings to Isabel that day. The world is vast, but our circles are small. Who would have thought we'd run into each other again here today? I respectfully asked, "Excuse me, the kitchen will be closing soon. Would anyone like to order anything else?" Carter glanced at me and suddenly stood up, clearly recognizing me. Well, if it isn't Isabel's boyfriend, Carter patted the girl slumped over the table. "Isabel, wake up. Look who is here." The gazes of everyone at the table turned toward me, filled with contempt and disdain. The girl raised her head, her face flushed, and her eyes dazed. It was Isabel. I wanted to greet Isabel, but the words died on my lips. Isabel ignored me, and instead asked Carter, "Where's the wine? Didn't you say there'd be plenty today?" "2 more bottles, hurry up," Carter barked at me. I frowned and said to Isabel, "You're drunk, stop drinking." Isabel replied coldly, "None of your business." "Who the hell do you think you are?" Carter stepped forward and shoved me. "Don't forget you're just a waiter. When I order drinks, you bring them one more word out of you, and I'll kick your ass, you hear me." I clenched my fists, then slowly relaxed them. This wasn't the right place to pick a fight with him. So I went to the front desk and brought them the drinks they ordered. But Carter wasn't about to let me off the hook. He finally seized this opportunity. "Isabel, what on earth made you fall for this loser?" Carter said with a sneer, seriously degrading. I replied, "If there's nothing else, I need to get back to work." "What is the hurry? Serving me is your damn job." Carter slapped the table with his car keys. "What did you say when you first came into the private room? Would you like to order more dishes? The chef will be leaving soon. You're in the service industry, and I'm a customer. I'll order whenever the hell I want." "Who asked you to rush me? Come back in half an hour and ask me again what I want. Now get out." Suppressing my emotions, I turned and left the private room. "Any customers requesting additional orders?" the manager asked. I think Carter was just looking for trouble, so I said no. Around midnight, Carter staggered over to the front desk. "Bring me the menu. I want to order more food." "Sir, I'm sorry, but the chef has already clocked out." The manager went over to explain. "We informed you at 11 o'clock. Carter pointed at me and said, "At 11, I told your dumb ass to get us more food in half an hour. Are you deaf or what?" I said, "It's 11:30. The chef has already clocked out." Carter shouted loudly, "I told you in advance, so you could inform the chef to stay and wait. What's more important, the customer or his damn half-hour early departure? Do you even understand restaurant etiquette?" The manager bowed his head, repeatedly apologizing profusely. "Sir, yes, and in turn, he doesn't know the rules. Please be understanding. I'm here spending money. Why the hell should I be understanding?" Carter refused to let it go. "Make him kneel and kowtow to me. Only then will this matter be settled." The manager snapped at me. "Apologize to the customer right now." I could no longer contain my anger and retorted, "Don't bother with this asshole. He's deliberately picking a fight." "Fuck you, say that again." Carter lunged at me, but was blocked by the manager. I took off my waiter's uniform and tossed it aside. "Want to fight? Let us take this outside the restaurant." The manager said, "Leo, you're fired. Don't bother coming back." I stormed out of the restaurant, seething with anger, and hailed a taxi while waiting by the roadside. Shortly after, Carter and the others emerged as well. Isabel was drunk, supported by the other 2 girls, her eyes closed and steps unsteady. A woman's voice shouted, "Carter, come help, quick. Isabel is about to collapse. We can barely hold her up anymore." Carter stepped forward to catch Isabel, but she shoved him away. Isabel frowned and snapped, "Don't touch me." Grumbling, Carter stepped aside and called the designated driver, "Hurry up." Another guy walked up to Carter and handed him a cigarette. "Bro, you're lucky. That girl is really something." Carter chuckled, "Still needs a bit more work. All it takes is a good night's sleep. Seize the opportunity tonight." About 5 or 6 minutes later, the designated driver arrived. Carter helped Isabel into the Maserati while the rest of the group got into another car before parting ways. I told the taxi driver, "Sir, follow that Maserati." The Maserati headed toward our university, but drove past without stopping, continuing instead to a nearby 5-star hotel. In the hotel parking lot, the car came to a stop and the designated driver left. Carter helped Isabel out of the car, half carrying her as they walked toward the hotel. Isabel leaned against Carter's shoulder, her face pale, eyes closed, arms limp and unconscious. I got out of the taxi and followed them. The hotel receptionist asked, "Sir, how many rooms would you like?" "Just one will do." "She is my girlfriend," Carter said. I rushed up to Carter and shouted, "Put her down." 7. My sudden appearance caught everyone off guard. Carter froze, and the hotel receptionist was at a loss. "Fuck country bumpkin," Carter snapped when he recognized me. "You looking to die or something?" With a grim expression, I repeated, "Put her down." Carter placed Isabel on the sofa in the hotel lobby, then charged at me swinging his fist. I didn't T-dodge. Instead, I grabbed his wrist and swung back, landing a punch square on his face. Carter collapsed to the ground, blood seeping from his nose, a heavy flow. He wiped his nose, smearing blood across his face, his hands now covered in it. Carter clutched his face, writhing on the ground in pain. Ignoring Carter, I went over and picked up Isabel, carrying her out of the hotel. I hailed a car and took Isabel to my rented apartment. I helped Isabel lie down and tucked her in. I made myself a makeshift bed on the floor and tossed and turned all night without sleeping a wink. I knew I was in trouble. The next day, Isabel woke up and groggily got out of bed. She probably didn't see the floor and ended up stepping on me, losing her balance and falling to the ground. I got stepped on and crushed under her weight. My whole body went numb from the shock. I quickly sat up, still holding a woman in my arms. Leo, why are you on the floor? Isabel looked shocked. And where's this place? This is my rented apartment. I briefly explained what happened yesterday. Last night you were with Carter and the others, you were drunk. So I brought you back. Otherwise, Carter and his friends would have taken advantage of you. Isabel lowered her head, her face burning with embarrassment. Thank you for saving me. She met my gaze. So Leo, you still haven't gotten over me, have you? I definitely don't want to see you get hurt, I sighed, and said, back at the restaurant, I heard what you told Carter. When you push him away, I understood you weren't accepting his advances, so that's why I stepped in to stop him. You didn't get into a fight, did you? Isabel asked with a frown. I was silent for a moment before replying, we did fight, but it's okay. Isabel touched my face and said, as long as you're not hurt, that's what matters. I thought of Carter lying on the ground with his face covered in blood, and a wave of unease washed over me. Isabel rested her head against my chest and said, these past few days, without me bothering you, you've been doing just fine, huh? Pretty much, I replied. Isabel snorted. If I couldn't feel your heartbeat, I'd have thought it was made of stone. I sat up straight and said solemnly, Isabel, listen to me. I was about to explain when Isabel kissed me on the lips, leaving my mind blank. Last time I got you drunk, and this time I drank until I passed out. We're even now, Isabel said, gazing at me affectionately. From now on, let us stop tormenting each other, okay? I sighed, unsure of what to say. In the morning, Isabel and I went to study at school together. We had just arrived at the academic building when two people stopped us. The officer showed his badge. We're officers from the local police station. You're suspected of assault. Come with us. I nodded calmly and said, all right. Isabel was shocked, tears welling up in her eyes as she tugged at my arm, anxiously asking Leo, what on earth happened? I punched Carter. Isabel and I arrived at the police station where we each gave our statements. After we finished giving our statements, a police officer in his 50s called Isabel and me aside. The diagnosis from Carter's hospital visit is out a fractured nasal bone. The officer paused before continuing. You might not realize what this means. If the injury assessment confirms it, you could likely be charged with third-degree assault. I couldn't help but gasp, my heart pounding wildly. Isabel quickly asked, how serious is third-degree assault? This legally constitutes a criminal offense. The officer continued to explain. I'm telling you this considering you're still students. You'd better hurry and negotiate a settlement with the victim. Once the district attorney decides to prosecute, we'll have to formally arrest you. A chill ran down my spine as I was overwhelmed with fear. Last night, in a moment of impulse, I had committed a terrible mistake. If I get convicted, my academic career will be ruined. Everything will be over. I've always kept a low profile, being cautious in everything and avoiding entanglements with women as much as possible. Yet I still ended up ruined by a woman, though Isabel shouldn't be blamed for it. Isabel's face turned deathly pale as she realized the gravity of the situation. Officer, where is Carter? Isabel asked. The hospital near your school, Isabel, and I took a taxi to the hospital where we saw Carter in the ward. When Carter saw me, he roared, how dare you hit me? I'll make sure you're out in jail. I'm sorry, Carter, this is all my fault. Isabel pleaded. Leo is still in school. If this becomes a criminal case, he'll be expelled. Please don't ruin his life, okay? Carter gritted his teeth in anger. He deserves it. All I could do was humble myself. I'm sorry. I acted impulsively and accidentally hurt you. Damn my luck having to fight a country bumpkin like you over a woman. Carter waved his fist angrily. The worst part is I lost and even got bloodied. I swear I'll get my revenge. What will it take for you to forgive him? Isabel asked with a frown. Name your price. How much money do you want? Money, I've got plenty of that, Carter said, staring at Isabel. Unless you agree to be my girlfriend, no, my fiancé, then I might consider letting him off the hook. Isabel froze at his words, falling into silence. I gritted my teeth and said, Isabel, don't pay him any mind since things have come to this. Whatever consequences or responsibilities there, I'll bear them alone. This has nothing to do with you. Carter sneered, then closed his eyes and fell silent. On the last day of summer vacation, I was locked up in a detention center. Carter's injury report came out a fractured nasal bone, meeting the criteria for third-degree assault. Inside the detention center, my heart burned with anxiety each day feeling like an eternity. The case was quickly forwarded to the district attorney's office on charges of assault. I thought my life was surely ruined coming from a poor family. I had failed both my parents' expectations and my own efforts. During these 2 years in college, I worked diligently, leaving early and returning late. One could say there wasn't a single day I spent in leisure. However, all of this vanished into thin air with that punch of mine. I felt some regret. I'd been too reckless. I thought I shouldn't have gotten involved in Isabel's affairs, even resenting her a little. But then again, in that situation, I had to step forward. How could I just watch her get bullied? My heart was restless, tangled in conflict and contradiction. There shouldn't be any future between Isabel and me. After all, we're from different worlds, like two shooting stars streaking across the sky, destined to meet, yet fated to miss each other. During this time, a lawyer came to see me, arranged by Isabel. Before leaving, the lawyer said, Isabel asked me to tell you, she's trying her best to help you, and no matter what happens, she'll stand by your side. I nodded, feeling a warmth in my heart. Another week passed, and I received a notice of non-prosecution from the prosecutor's office. The victim has submitted a settlement agreement, and this case meets the conditions for non-prosecution. The prosecutor announced the decision: you may leave now. What Carter issued a settlement agreement. I recalled Carter's attitude at the time and couldn't believe my ears. Yes, he forgave you. It was truly strange. How had Carter suddenly changed his attitude? Could it be that Isabel agreed to be his fiancée? This seems to be the only possibility, and my heart sinks to the depths. Will there be a criminal record if I don't file a lawsuit? I asked. No, but you should learn your lesson, I said as I walked out of the detention center where Isabel was waiting at the entrance. It had been a few days since we last met, and she had grown noticeably thinner with dark circles under her eyes. We held each other and both burst into tears. Thank you, Isabel. No, you did it for me too, I said, stroking the girl's face. Did you agree to Carter's request? Isabel bit her lip and said, anyway, you don't like me marrying a rich second-generation heirloom TB so bad. My heart was pierced like a piece of ice, shattering into fragments on the ground. Isabel, I can't bear to let you go. I love you. My tears streamed down uncontrollably. I backed away because I felt unworthy, because I thought I didn't deserve you and couldn't give you a future. Isabel tilted her head and asked, so can you give me a future right now? I thought a lot inside. If you love someone, you should be bold and dedicate your whole life to guarding them. I paused, then added, a person's lifetime is very long. We're just at the beginning now. I believe that as long as I work hard enough, I can definitely give you a good life. Fool. Isabel gave me a light punch. Oh, right. I forgot to tell you. I've moved into your place. You don't mind, do you? Welcome. I was startled by her words and stumbled over my reply. But what about Carter? Isabel explained, my dad and Carter's father are business partners. To be precise, our family is one of the Carter family's biggest clients. I asked my dad to put in a good word. Carter was actually at fault too, and after some mediation between the parents, he agreed to drop the matter and not hold you responsible. I couldn't help but widen my eyes. You're also a rich second-generation heir. I don't think so. My father is my father, and I am me. I stared blankly at the girl before me, too shocked to speak. Isabel burst into laughter. Don't feel too pressured. My parents actually approved of me spending time with you. Just treat me well from now on, and no more self-deprecation. Do you know which phrase of yours I hate the most? After some thought, I replied, we're from different worlds. Isabel leaned against my shoulder and gave me a playful bite. You know what? That's good for you, she murmured. We gazed at each other, our eyes locked in silent understanding. We returned to my rented studio, and the sight before us was completely transformed. New bedsheets, fresh duvet covers, and even the curtains, desk, and chairs were all brand new. I felt strangely out of place, as if I stepped into someone else's home. Of course, what made me even more uncomfortable was suddenly sharing an apartment with a stunning beauty. No, not just sharing an apartment. In this room, there's only one bed. It's practically cohabitation. I scratched my head and asked Isabel, where should I sleep? Isabel rolled her eyes at me. Didn't you say you like sleeping on the floor? You can sleep there from now on. Fine, I'll go find some newspapers. Come here. Isabel tugged at her hair in frustration. I can't stand you anymore. Come here. Let me take a bite out of you. Steeling myself, I sat down beside the girl. Give me your arm, Isabel commanded. After a moment's hesitation, I raised my hand and offered it to her. Isabel grabbed my arm and bit down hard, a real proper bite. A sharp pain shot through me, the kind that pierces right to the heart. This woman, is she part dog? How am I supposed to get along with her in the future? Did you learn your lesson? The girl asked. What lesson? Isabel said resentfully, just don't make me feel like you're the woman and I'm the man. I'm your girlfriend. Can't you drop the act? I rubbed my hands together and chuckled. Well, then I want to hold back with you. Isabel closed her eyes and commanded, kiss me. Summoning my courage, I pulled Isabel into my embrace, gazing at the girl's delicate face before lowering my head to gently cover her lips. My heartbeat quickened as time slowed. My hands trembled while undoing each button on Isabel's clothes one by one. Isabel grabbed my hand and asked, do you love me? I said, love? When did you fall in love with me? On Bear Mountain, when the wind tousled your hair. Isabel let go of my hand, her lips curling slightly, then show me just how much you love me. Life is like a play like life, a world for two of fleeting indulgence. I barely had any money in my pocket, so I avoided such events whenever possible. I felt dazed for a moment and pinched myself at hurt. I wasn't dreaming. I had actually won over the goddess of our school, the heiress of a wealthy family. Does this mean I'll be a kept man from now on? No, I still have to work hard. It suddenly occurred to me the high-quality course website I promised to develop for the college still hadn't made any progress. I quickly scrambled to get up and went back to writing code. The end.